Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of From the Fourth Line. I'm your host, Emma, and I'm joined as always by my lovely co-host, Marcie.
Yay!
You know what? I feel like I said this, though. I was like, we're going to come back, and it's going to be 3 Leaf losses that we're going to have to talk about on the podcast after having, 2 weeks of, good, we have, no, not 2 weeks. We had, a full week of, Leafs winning, and we were like, this is great. We love talking about the Leafs winning.
Yeah.
And then
Now we get this.
And I don't even know where to start because my notes are very much because all 3 of those games were the same.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You could pick, a couple of the core 4 guys, and you can be like, well, they didn't perform this game. William Nylander didn't perform any of those games.
No.
And we'll talk about that, and then we'll also talk about Sheldon Keefe and his coaching decisions as well. So I have questions.
Many questions.
Many questions. Also as well, just anyways, we only get one. We're like a PG-13 movie right now. we get one F-bomb that we have to drop very carefully. And it's only because like I said, my dad sent me a text. I talked about it last episode. I don't know if I talked about it last episode, but he was like, Emma, I listened to the show. Stop swearing so much. And I was like, okay. And then
it's gonna be quite
and then
difficult for me.
And then I know. I was like, I hope he realizes who I host with. But and then he said to me last night when I called him before the game started, he was like, you get one. You get to do it once next episode. I was like, so thanks, Dad.
As someone from Northern England, I think having to restrict myself to one F-bomb is really mean, and actually quite a hate crime against us.
I think it's pretty hypocritical of him to say that because I've put up drywall with him. So
Oh my god, is your dad about to enter his problematic era?
Forget friend of the show. He is enemy of the show. Dad, I'm joking. I love you. Thanks for paying some of my tuition. I love you. I'll be home. I can't wait to come home. Anyways.
I love when we just are so obviously putting off having to talk about the Leafs.
I don't want to. I know everyone disses on Steve Dangle and everything, but it's really hard to not get all yelly screamy when you have to talk about the Leafs all the time.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it.
I don't know how he did it the bad years. Because there were some really bad Leaf seasons out there where they were putting up some awful numbers.
That's gotta take a serious hit of your sanity.
And here we are about to talk about the Leafs.
Yay.
I don't want to rehash the debate about New York Islander fans booing John Tavares every time the Leafs play in Toronto because I feel like that happens. It's a debate that literally happens every single game, and it's we've been going on for way too long now that I don't want to do it. So we're not going to. But the Leafs did lose all 3 of their games, the last 3 games. So going into a West Coast road trip, of course, always, right? It's great. It's great. I'm having so much fun. But they lost 4-3 against the Islanders, 5-3 against Colorado, and 4-2 against Detroit. Now, it wasn't all bad because the Islander loss was overtime. So, we got a point.
Yay!
A point! But, you would expect to get more than a point out of 3 games, especially with the team that the Leafs have and the money that they're paying some of these guys. But what the big one was where was Nylander the past 3 games?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the last 3 games, he has been very, like, early 2023-24 season Jake McCabe for me, in that I've not realised that he's actually been on the ice, and I've kind of forgotten about him a little bit, or a lot.
And he's been on the top line. He's been playing a lot of minutes. Like if we look at, this is the one tab I don't have open. I have literally every other tab open. Look at me go. But like he oh God, I made a mistake of tweeting something before the show. Shouldn't have done that.
Oh, is it like
That's Oh, my phone just keeps buzzing. I made the mistake of tweeting something before the show, before we started recording, because I'm just that intelligent.
big brain?
But yeah, here we go. Last 3 games, like he played 18 minutes against New York Islanders. He played 23 minutes against Colorado and 20 minutes against Detroit. I could probably name you.
On the ice
I could probably, yeah, especially still on the top line. I could probably name you 1 shift per game where I remember seeing him. And usually those weren't good. And it wasn't because it was a good shift.
Yeah. He signed the contract and then just kind of...
Yeah, and then off.
Yeah, it was like, right, I've done my work for the season. I've got my money. I'm locked in. I'm off.
Yeah. No points in the last 3 games, which is his biggest. That's his biggest scoreless streak.
Yeah, I think
since his that's his biggest scoreless streak since his point streak ended. Like prior to this, he'd only been scoreless in like 4 games. And now he's scoreless in 7. Anyways, so he's going to get paid $11.5 million next season, no matter what.
Yeah.
You kind of want him to at least produce like that now, so that you know what you are expecting for the next 8 years.
Yeah, because it's like, I see, like, people being like, oh, well, you can't be expecting him to, like, constantly produce all these points, like, all the time. And I'm like, they're like, it's not fair to put that pressure on it. And I'm like, okay, but if you're being paid $11.5 million a year, you need
to be putting up those points.
You need to be putting these points up.
Because of the cap percentage that you take up. And also as well, like, it's not even just his lack of points, whatever. I would have been fine if it's lack of points, he's just getting unlucky, because I've been very, very, like, very complimentary to Tyler Bertuzzi and just saying, like, he's been unlucky, but he's been playing great.
Yeah.
William Nylander has disappeared on the ice. He also is going back to... He's also going back to, like, how he used to be prior to this season, where he'd just be slow. Like, remember, oh my God, that one game where the Boston game where him and Marchand collided at center ice in overtime.
Oh no!
And then both him and John Tavares were slow on the back check. We're back to that again, except it's now average of 20 minutes a game.
Yeah,
we're back to that one play, but except it's his entire time on the ice. You know exactly, like,
I remember that.
I think Wolf was in net for that too as well. Or was it Samsonov? I don't remember. I just remember being that game fed. I was so fed up with that game. But like, the Leafs have to stop giving up leads, and I think it was something that was very apparent more so in the Colorado game, is that Sheldon Keefe, and we'll talk about Sheldon Keefe and Sheldon Keefe's coaching, but I do want to just say that, like, this team, and maybe it's just Sheldon Keefe, but maybe it's the entire team in the way that they go through practices, whatever, is that they have trouble with when a team struggles against them in the first period, but then goes during intermission and changes their approach to the game. The Leafs can't adjust to that. And you need to be able to, like, you have to do that because or else you're going to give up leads and you're going to lose games.
Like,
it's what Colorado did. It's what Detroit did.
Like, when you're playing a game, you have these breaks where the other team will go and they will be like, this is what we need to change. And then they will go out there and change it. You need to do the same. You need to be like, right, I know we were playing well, but how can we change our game in the next period so that so that the changes they make aren't gonna work as well? You need to be like constantly just changing and like improving, even if it's just like little things. Because if not, you're gonna have a really good first, and mids, and like an okay second, and then
a god awful third period.
A third period that makes me, someone who lives in the UK but has not missed a single game this season so far,
which is a huge accomplishment.
To switch it off.
Yeah. And
I was
especially going on to our West Coast road trip where the games are all starting later, like, come on.
That's a 2 a.m. start for me in the middle of exams. Like,
yeah.
I don't know how it's gonna
go. And Sheldon Keefe's go-to solution for this always is, what if I just change up the lines? And it doesn't work. He has to figure out that it doesn't work.
Like, yes, you can change the lines, but if you're gonna like change the lines, do it in a way that makes sense. Don't just go like, ooh, I wonder what would happen if I put these two together. Brain, like, use it.
Exactly. Also, like, but there's been no problem with the goaltending, and we'll talk about Samsonov's return versus Detroit. But there's been no problem with the goaltending. The goaltending's been solid. The goaltending has done their job. Like, it hasn't been spectacular lights out goaltending, obviously, but it has given the Leafs a shot at winning the game, which is something, nice. Yeah, nice.
Like, it's getting bad when the goaltending is the most consistent thing about the game.
You know what's getting bad when, and I'll say it, the most consistent players outside of, Morgan Rielly is one of them, Pontus Holmberg and Simon Benoit. Notably, to me, two most consistent guys on the ice.
Yeah, they've been the most noticeable players.
Pontus Holmberg, 4 points in the last 5 games. That's 2 goals and 2 assists. He got a shot at the top line. We're going to talk about that Detroit game and those lines in particular. And then Simon Benoit, for me, it's like he has been strong defensively. And my always eye test for defensemen is like, if I'm not yelling at my TV at you, you're doing a good job. And, you can look at the stat cards and you can look at the impact cards, whatever, and you can see it visually on a bar graph, and you can be like, yeah, he has had but he's been good and solid and dependable, which is what you want from your defense. And those two, neither of them started the season with Toronto. Neither of them started the season with the Leafs. Right? They both started with the Marlies. So.
But then, I think, Benoit, specifically, has been the most noticeable player, and not because I have just been
looking for it.
This has nothing to do with mine and Liz's conversations. But it's he is he's not putting points up. Don't care, because he's going out and he is consistently laying hits. He's being physical, but not just every so maybe I should do it. It's the entire game.
Yeah.
He's being physical, which is what we need.
And he's being that bigger body on the ice. Kind of, I feel like, not to bring him up, but I will. Since Justin Hall left the Leafs, as much as I make fun of him for being a slow ass skater, and his his awkward stride and just how it's like you can spot him when you can't really like if you took all the numbers off the players and you send them skating up the ice, I'd be able to point out Justin Hall specifically because of how noticeable it I tweeted about it during the game. I was like, oh, how I've missed Justin Hall lumbering up the ice with the puck and then being slow on the back check after a turnaround. Ooh, I missed it.
When I described him as a snail lost in the dark, I giggled because I was like, that is the best description I've ever seen.
But him in front of the net is annoying for other players. Because he's a big guy, and Simon Benoit is also a big, tall guy, and will probably lay bigger hits than Justin Hall ever did. Sorry to Justin Hall. But, and then also, can we talk about Benoit's little fill-in as backup goalie against Detroit? He saved Samsonov's ass there with that one.
That was insane.
But
is there anything that man can't do?
Nothing. But yeah, I'm trying to. Also, I want to talk about the concerns. I don't know if you noticed, special teams. Just how bad the penalty kill has had concerns.
It once again has been my favorite word, miserable.
Yeah. Also the power play.
You I'm not being funny, but if you just showed me a clip of our power play units out there, I would not know.
Well, yeah.
It's so hard to be like, this is our power play, because it's just not there at all.
The Leafs haven't scored a power play goal since they scored 3 against the San Jose Sharks. So they didn't score a single power play goal the last 3 games. Now you could be like, well, yeah, Emma, because they had 2 power plays combined in the again, they had 1 against New York and 1 against Colorado, and yeah, okay, we'll talk about the officiating against Colorado, but also as well, they had 3 power plays against Detroit and were not able to convert that into a goal.
I don't even
look at the guys on your power play though.
It's we both know that I love making excuses for the Leafs just because
it's the Leafs.
It's the Leafs, but even I am struggling.
We can't make and people make excuses going to, like I said, we're jumping all around across because we can look at these past 3 games as just one giant game. So we're jumping all over the place, all over the in terms of what games we're going to talk about. But against Colorado, you could say, well, the officiating was bad because there was the missed the trip. People will be like, I don't know if that's a trip, but there was the missed trip on Domi. There was the missed call on McCabe. There was the missed cross check on Matthews. I don't know who falls on their own like that. It's not me. If that's falling on your own, I can fly.
Yeah, it's I never knew that they'd redefined what falling is to the point that it includes another person with a hockey stick.
Go cross-checking you right where there's no padding. And I think it was Nylander who said something that insinuated that Matthews could have been hurt on that play too. And then also as well, the missed slash on Liljegren where it was essentially Mighty Ducks 2 coming down on Adam Banks' arm. Again, we have no, but you know what I mean, right? How do you miss that? And I think also as well, Liljegren on the bench, I think some people were saying, oh, he looks like he was saying, I'm bleeding. I didn't see that myself, but it's where were the refs' eyes? And people are like, oh, well, you know, Leafs bias. Where is this stupid Leafs? I don't see this Leafs bias. Can you show me this Leafs bias on a graph, please? Because if anything, there's a bias against the Leafs because it's the Leafs.
No, true. It's like every time someone's like, oh, there's a bias for the Leafs, it's like a Dora the Explorer episode. I'm like, can you show me where the bias for the Leafs is? Can you?
Can you show me on this graph of like? Can you? But yeah.
They just.
Okay. I'm trying to figure out where we're gonna go next. Do you want to talk about Sheldon Keefe or do you want to talk about Samsonov's return to net?
I think personally we should also just say free Morgan Riley.
Free. Yeah. Okay. No, that was not his penalty. That was William Nylander's penalty. That was not his penalty. He's still on. Yeah. Morgan Riley against Detroit got his first penalty of the season. It was January 14th, where that was halfway through. That was game 41 for the Leafs. That was game 41 for the Leafs. We are halfway through the season, and Morgan Riley took his first penalty.
Away from 1,000 minutes.
Yeah, he was at 988 time on ice, like minutes played this season, and had not taken. Morgan Riley for Lady Bang.
Morgan Riley for Lady Bang.
Morgan Riley for Lady Bang. If he doesn't win the Lady, I'm gonna be really pissed off if he doesn't win the Lady Bang this season because I think playing close to 1,000 minutes for a penalty that was, and your first penalty is a penalty that wasn't even yours, is very, very impressive.
Yeah.
As a defenseman.
Yeah, like especially, it's like I was so mad.
Oh my god,
when
me too.
I saw him in the box and I was like, what's he doing there?
Shouldn't be there, but
why have we jailed Mr. Tessa Virtue?
Yeah, let's talk about Samsonov. Samsonov back in net for the Leafs against Detroit after missing 10 days with the team, being sent down to the Marlies. Now, a lot of people thought that he was going to get games played. I really think, and I've said this actually a lot of times to people, I didn't say it on Twitter, but I did say it a lot of times to people in my real life who always come and ask me questions about the Leafs. They're like, Emma, what do you think? I think Samsonov was sent down to the Marlies. I think the timing is really important because the Leafs were about to go on a West Coast road trip. Mm-hmm. And I think sending Samsonov down to the Marlies and having him stay back in Toronto with the team and to be able to practice with the coaching staff there and not have to travel with the team is the main reason why they sent him down. Because of just the fact that, like, he doesn't have to travel, he doesn't have to deal with jet lag, he can just stay in Toronto and practice and not have to worry about the stresses of traveling cross country. And I think that's where, like, the Leafs have a huge advantage in the fact that their AHL affiliate plays in the same city as they do, and they share the same practice facility. I believe the Marlies also practice out of the Forward Performance Center. If not, like, it's like a 20-minute drive, no traffic from Forward Performance Center to Coca-Cola Coliseum, like just towards downtown. But like, and it obviously worked because I think he had a pretty good game against Detroit. He gave the Leafs a chance.
His first save, when
everyone started cheering. Yeah, and the goals were unlucky too. Like,
yeah, they weren't, like, he was less responsible for those goals than he has been for, like, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
Season.
And that's exactly, like, he said himself in his post game, cheers from he heard because fans were cheering, fans were chanting his name at one point, and then he allowed the game winning goal, but, like, also again, game winning goal, not his fault. That's the Leafs defense. I don't know, but how much, like, and he said himself how much it means a lot for him because of how much he loves the fans and how much he loves the city of Toronto and playing here, which means a lot. You know, when players say that, I think it means a lot because of, you know, it shows, hey, we actually do care. It's not like he doesn't care. I think if anything, he cares too much. Right? But, yeah. And he also didn't make, I think he didn't make any major mistakes.
No.
Like, he didn't make anything. And
Really
he had a couple of really great saves.
He did.
He
They
had
were
a couple, like,
good.
highlight reel saves where they were really, really great. So I think it's a good first game back from him. I think it's unfortunate that the rest of the team couldn't close out the win for him because he kept the Leafs in this game and gave them a chance at winning.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk about? Okay, Mark Giordano was scratched against Detroit because now we're going to talk about because of he had a bad 2 last games, and then McMahon rumored to be injured because he did not play against Detroit, and he left the Colorado game and then came back and then didn't really play a whole lot, and so, but Sheldon Keefe.
I have to suffer through another one of my favorite players being injured at this moment in time.
2 of them injured at the same time is a little bit extreme. On the Leafs specifically, because we also have Jess Skinner, who's still injured, who got activated to IR actually today as well, according to Cat Friendly.
My favorite. No, but like, I'm not being funny. If I have to deal with any more injuries right now, like, I'm gonna have to be like asking your dad if I can say the F word.
Reach out to Keith on Twitter.
You're like, hey Keith, can I say the F word?
Yeah. Let's just talk about the Sheldon Keefe's weird coaching decisions. I think it all goes back to the third period against Colorado. We have some ice times for that third period for the Leafs lineup. That I don't know, Marcie, if you can find it. Do you want to read them out?
Yeah, we had. Wait, let me just. Yeah, so we had Mana with 9:49, Nylander 8:56, Matthews 7:49, Yankruk 6:55, Domi 4:41, Camp 4:18, Holmberg 3:55, John Tavares with a grand total of 3 minutes and 18 seconds. Ooh.
He hasn't had some great games.
McMahon 2:23, Nyes 2:14, and Tyler Bertuzzi with a record-breaking 1 minute and 21 seconds.
Now that's where I'm like, what is that? Those bottom 2 are interesting. Matthew Nyes has not had a good couple of games, and I don't know if we'll talk about him being on the 4th line against Detroit later, but like, I don't know if he's in some weird kind of Keefe doghouse or if it's just sort of it's Keefe reiterating his message of when he healthy scratched camp of like, hey, you don't play well, you don't play. But Tyler Bertuzzi at 121 is one where I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's like, he barely even saw the ice for the third period.
Yeah.
You can go on like the NHL website and you can look at sort of like when you can look at like the shift chart. There's a shift chart that you can look at where it shows you all of the shifts that all the players had like all the players on both teams had played and that sort of thing. Tyler Bertuzzi's 121 was 1 shift long, and it came sorry, I'm trying to do the math here. It was 1 shift. He played 1 shift that entire third period, and it came 43-23 into the game. So that's like, like 3 minutes into that's 3 minutes into the third period. He played 1 minute and 21 seconds, and then didn't play for the rest of the game. That is before the 2 Colorado goals. So he wasn't on for those last 2 Colorado goals. He was on, and then 3 minutes later, Colorado scores their game tying goal.
I just want to know what goes through Sheldon Keefe's mind, like, a lot of the time. Like, I want to know, what is he thinking?
I've so many questions.
I personally, they should let just us two do the next media with him. Just be like, so Sheldon, what's going on?
Yeah, and he seemed to have been replaced by Pontus Holmberg. If I look at the shift chart and I like try to line it up with, with Max Domi. Well, actually, no. He was replaced by John. I don't know. I'm trying to read this. No, he was on the same line as Pontus Holmberg because Robertson wasn't in the lineup. I don't know. I think the Leafs are trying to figure out what they're going to do with Nick Robertson, and because they have Pontus Holmberg and they're trying to figure it out. It's not working, and I just am like sitting here like, what are we doing? Sheldon Keefe, what are we doing? What I'm like, what are we doing? And then also and that kind of leads into last night's game, Sunday's game, against Detroit, which should have been on paper, in theory, a game that the Leafs should have won. Yes, they played a back-to-back, but so did Detroit because every team in the NHL was playing on Saturday. So Leafs were at home though, so they did not have to travel. Detroit had to travel. Detroit took off, had to emergency land back in Detroit, didn't then take off from Detroit a second time because of the weather until like 4 o'clock. Didn't arrive in Toronto didn't arrive in Toronto until 4:52. Games was supposed to start at 7. They pushed it back to 7:30. Puck drop wasn't until 7:52. They didn't have time. They came straight from the airport to the arena. They didn't stop at a hotel first, so they all walked in their tracksuits, and didn't get the proper warm up, which I know people are like, oh, it's not that, whatever. It's the mental headspace that like going through your routine gives you. I'm sure, Sidney Crosby could write a book on that. And the Leafs still lost. The Leafs still lost. The Leafs were up, had a lead, still lost.
Yeah, I think this is a really, really good moment for me to use my F-bomb. What the fuck was that?
I'm sitting there with my roommate and I'm like, you know what? This should be a good game because the Leafs should play well. Because I was telling her, I was like explaining to her the whole like Detroit and how they hadn't traveled, and I was explaining to her the whole situation. She was like, yeah, the Leafs should win this game. Leafs lost 4-2, by like no fault of Ilya Samsonov. Before you say, oh, because it's Samsonov's turn. It's not his fault.
No.
And also as well, just the lines. Can we talk about the lines? Can I read out the lines that Sheldon Keefe decided was what he was going to go with last night?
Yeah.
May I?
Go for
Holmberg, Matthews, Nylander, Bertuzzi, Domi, Marner, Robertson, Tavares, Jarnkrok, Nyes, Kampf, Gregor, and then for D pair, Riley, Brody, McCabe, Liljegren, Benoit Timmins, and then Samsonov and net. What? What is this?
To quote Joseph Wall, what happened to
our lines?
What happened to our lines?
Poor guy, probably, I don't know, like, wait, actually, well, he is back on Instagram, so he probably was like, at home, tucked in, he's like, oh, I'll watch the game, whatever. He turns on Sportsnet, they see the line graphic, and he goes, what happened to our lines? And he's like, what happened? He's like, was there another trade that I don't know about?
He was like, I thought I was on top of it now.
I thought I was in. But congratulations to Pontus Holmberg for getting a promotion from bottom line Glorbo to top line guy. Whoa, big night. And he had a great game. Scored a goal. Made a couple big hits. Patrick Kane left the game after a hit from Holmberg. And then we also have like the Ontario cult line, the OHL cult line with Bertuzzi, Domi, and Marner. Keefe did say that when Matthews was out with his illness, that he really liked how Domi and Marner worked together. Obviously, they have still that chemistry from when they played on the London Knights together.
Yeah.
And he said like he still likes it and he think it works. Yeah, it did. The third line though. Oof. Tavares gets the demotion to 3C. I don't know what that third line is. The fourth line though? What is this fourth line? This fourth line was out. This fourth line was out with like still like 2 minutes left in the game. Sheldon, why are we sending out the fourth line with Kampf, Gregor, and Matthew Nyes when you're down by 1 goal with 2 minutes left and you pull your goalie?
I want to know, like, in what world that seemed like a good idea.
I would love to ask Sheldon what he was thinking. What was going through his head when he thought, yes, you know what? We're down by 1. But you know who I'm going to send out? The kid off the top line who I've demoted down to the fourth line who's struggling. Our noted fourth line center who I tried playing at third line and it didn't work because he's not a huge offensive, like no against David Kampf. He's just not a goal scorer. He's a shutdown center.
Yeah.
And the guy who's essentially, no offense to Noah Gregor, but essentially is Alex Kerfoot 2.0, in which he skates really fast towards the net, but then can't finish the play. Oh, yeah. That's the trio of forwards I'm going to send out when we're down by 1 with 2 minutes left in the game.
I don't even have words. Like, I was sat and I was like, all right, let's just get the rest of this game over and done with.
At that point, I was like, well, I'm gonna go through, and I was going through my memes, and I was trying to find my one Justin Hall meme so that I could use it when the Leafs eventually lost this game. That's what I was doing when I saw those 3 put out. I was like, well, that's it. Well, we're 3-game losing streak going into the West Coast road trip. Let's go.
Yeah, it's like, what could go wrong when we're on a 3-game losing streak going into playing the Oilers, who are on a 10-game winning streak? Joy. So
excited for Tuesday's game. Cannot wait.
You know that picture of John Tavares where he's like, I'm experiencing so much joy right now.
Oh, I'm in a state of euphoria. Yeah. I had that saved to my phone.
Yeah, that was me when I remembered like we're playing the Oilers. I was like,
oh yeah, no, it's not just the Oilers though. We're playing the Oilers. We're playing the Flames, who, are actually not awful right now. And then we play the Canucks. And then we play the Jets at home, and then we're back on the road to play the Jets in Winnipeg.
Legally, I don't care if they lose every other game, but I need them to win the Jets games, because if not, my dad is gonna absolutely rip the shit out of me. Also,
if I have to see fucking, there's my one F bomb. I'm gonna use it on Jesse Pollock. If I have to see Jesse Pollock talk about the Leafs losing to the Winnipeg Jets on my Twitter, I'm going to lose it. I'm going to lose it. I'm logging off. That's it. Done. I'm done.
Sorry, no.
That's it. Bye, so no more podcast. I'm done. I can't do that. I can't. I'm sorry. I can't. But also as well, Sheldon, Can we take TJ Brody off of the top pair? Can we replace him with Timothy Lilligren? Because Timothy playing fantastic since coming back from his injury. He's been great.
Incredible.
Play Lilligren up with Riley. I want to see it. Because I remember when all of our D-core was hurt last season and we had Rasmus Sandin playing top line, top D-pair minutes, and he was fantastic. And then we traded him to Washington, and then we were all like, this is so sad. I'm so sad. You're trading away all of William Nylander's Swedish rookies. Now but also as well, like, I'm just saying, can we go back to like playing those young guys up on give them some top, like, trust Timothy Lilligren with top line minutes. Can we?
Because he's very capable of it. And you know what? Sheldon Keefe, if you are willing to absolutely blow up the lines like you did last night, why are you not willing to put Lilligren?
If you're willing to put, no offense to Pontus Holmberg, if you're willing to put Pontus Holmberg on the top line, I think you can put Timothy Lilligren on the top D pair.
Yeah. Like.
I will say though, with Giordano scratched, it makes sense. It does, send a message of like, hey, you play like crap and you become responsible for a couple of goals against. You will get scratched from the lineup. Puts in Timmins. I would have thought we would have gone with Lagesson, but.
Who are we?
Connor Timmins was great offensively. Had a couple of really good looks from the back end. Maybe he just, Keefe wanted to just boost the Leafs offensive from the blue line, and maybe that's what he was hoping to do. Did it work? No. It's definitely sending different messages to different players though. Those lines. It's sending a message to Pontus Holmberg. First of all, of like, hey, keep playing like you have been playing and you will be rewarded. It's sending a message, negative message, also a positive message to Domi as well. Domi, I feel like, has been great too as well. Yeah. And, putting him with Marner is fantastic. And I think they probably both enjoy it. They're like, oh yeah, it's like our good old London Knights days. And then they're probably in the locker room of, during intermission talking about the Mem Cup or whatever. And Austin Matthews is threatening to hang himself from the rafters of the Scotiabank Arena. But it sends a message to John Tavares of like, hey, get your act together or you're going to keep playing 3C. And it sends a huge message to Matthew Nyes of like, hey, yeah, I know you were a top line guy because you didn't work in the bottom six, but we can send you back to the bottom six where you'll look worse.
Like, the one thing I really want to know is what was the vibe in the locker room after last night? Like,
because remember Sheldon Keefe's quote about saying about their loss to Colorado, where they're like, the mood ain't great. How's the mood now, Sheldon? How's the mood now?
The amount of money that I don't have but would have paid to have been there to watch Sheldon Keefe absolutely rip the shit out. Sorry, Keith. Rip the shit out of like everyone in there.
I think we can say. I'm trying to remember what the PG-13 rules are. I think you can say shit. I just don't think you. I think you are limited to the number of F-bombs you can drop. So glad we don't do video.
I can't see what hurt.
Yeah. But yeah. Oh, to be a fly on the wall of that locker room. I mean, will they in the? It's like.
I think we can safely say there was no post-game ice cream trip for Matthew Nyes.
No, there was not. Also as well, Detroit, game against Detroit also means the return to Toronto of Justin Hall. It was really cute. Actually, on Tessa Virtue's Instagram story, I saw. I'm sure you probably saw that too. Her and Steph, who is Mitch Marner's wife, and then Audrey, who is Justin Hall's wife, they all went out for dinner, which was really, really cute.
I...
They that was really cute. But yeah, Justin Hall returns to Toronto. So it's not the first time he's played against the Leafs since signing with Detroit. He played against them in Sweden, but it's the first time he's returning to Toronto. And he got like there was claps and cheers when he got announced, like when they do their whole like welcome home, welcome back to Toronto, Justin. Thank you for all you did for us.
Yeah, so the claps and cheers that you heard were actually just me from Manchester.
So I think that was really cool. And then also of course because I'm gonna read off if I can, hopefully I can find it. No, oh no. I'm just trying to find the one Mitch Marner quote. I think I have. Oh, I do actually have it just retweeted to my own profile. But then Mitch was asked about it after the game yesterday about the tribute for Justin Hall, because the two notably were actually very good friends when Justin Hall was with the Leafs, and they lived together during COVID. Sorry, I'm just trying to find it, and there was a really long one. Oh, here we go. Mitch Marner on Justin Hall's return tribute and applause. He deserved a lot more love than he got when he played here, and it was good to hear that tonight. He deserves it.
Mitch Marner, everybody.
Mitch Marner. When can we have him on? I know we said this last episode about his. Oh no, did we say this last? Yeah, we did, about his quote about Pontus Holmberg. Mitch Marner, I think he would love coming on the podcast.
You would love
because turns out we all have the same favorite players.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, I will, however, claim the title of Justin Hall's biggest fan because unlike Mitch, I have the number 3 tattooed on my arm.
How do you know Mitch doesn't have the number 3 tattooed on his arm?
Because if Mitch had the number 3 tattooed on his arm, do you not think everyone would know? He would make it everyone's problem. It's like, oh my god, guys, look, I love Justin Hall. Do you see me doing that? No. Do you see me confessing to my tattoo artist that I'm getting the number 3 tattooed because of Justin Hall?
Well, okay. You guys, Mitch, come on the show and you and Marcie can fight it out for number 1 Justin Hall fan. Also as well, just another Mitch Marner little tidbit as well. He scored against Detroit last night, which was his career 600th point in the NHL, making him the fastest Leaf to do it in franchise history by achieving that milestone in 548 games. That's one of those things where people forget, like, guys, like the names that the people he beat to the other names on this list, like the like number 2 and number 3 and fastest to achieve it, Daryl Sittler and Matt Sundin. That's where we have to remember how good this Leafs team is, because we see there's, it seems like it's like every other game it's like Matthews and Marner are breaking some sort of franchise record, and you look at the other guys on their list who are doing it and you realize how long ago those guys played for the Leafs, and you have to, like, Leaf fans have to realize that they have something really special with this Leafs team and just how good it is, and just what they're like. Okay, sure, they're not winning cups, whatever, and you can say, oh, haven't won a playoff round, whatever, and 1967, whatever, all you want, but you have to realize that the individual achievements of these guys are really magical and something to like look at, to celebrate, because it's something that I have never, I've never in my lifetime witnessed a Leafs team this talented and this good. I remember the years of when they were really, really bad, like 2010 through 2012, 2013, losing to Boston 2013, and then being really bad for a couple seasons, and then getting Matthews, whatever, and then, having that regular season. but enjoy the regular season success. You can wish for postseason success. Yes, all you want. That's fine. But enjoy the regular season success because you're going to, it's going to be 20, 30 years from now. And, maybe there's going to be a new batch of really talented Leafs guys who are going to be, having that success and breaking those records. And you can be like, I remember when, Mitch Marner broke this record and just how magical and how good that team was in the regular season. Have fun with it. I know the past couple of games haven't been fun, but like you have to celebrate things like this because it is really special, especially for a hometown kid who grew up a fan and wore 93 in juniors because it was, he modeled his game after Doug Gilmour. And then, he gets drafted by the Leafs, his hometown team, the team he grew up cheering for as a kid. And then he can't wear the number 93 that he wore in juniors because of his favorite player, because that number's retired by the team that he got drafted for. So then he picks number 16. And then you think about half the implications of like Easton Cohen wears 16 in juniors because Mitch Marner was his favorite player growing up, which, by the way, sends me for a loop every time, makes me feel really, really old. Because I remember when Mitch Marner got drafted. And then, and when he gets the Leafs, like when Easton Cohen joins the Leafs, he will have to change numbers because that number won't be available because Mitch Marner will be wearing it. And then when Mitch Marner, retires, whatever, that number is probably going to get retired. Like this could be the last time, the last generation of Leafs hockey where we see the numbers 16, 34, and 88 worn.
Why is that just made me like get tears in my eyes?
Like that's what you have to think about is you have to like Leaf fans think about this. We've just locked down William Nylander as a Leaf for life, and sure, we just went on and complained about how he hasn't been playing well the past 3 games, but like,
he's still William Nylander.
He's still William Nylander. Like, look at what
we just don't have the
take
words.
A second to like,
hand movements.
Take a second to look around and realize what you're watching for a second. Anyways. That's my little rant about Leafs breaking records. Now, I'm trying to think of if we have anything else to talk about. Oh, yeah. Detroit, with that win against the Leafs, are now 1 point behind Toronto in the Atlantic standings. Going into Toronto's Canadian West Coast road trip, they play the Oilers on Tuesday, the Flames on Thursday, and then the Canucks and Kraken back-to-back Saturday, Sunday before coming back to play Winnipeg at home and then playing Winnipeg on the road because, of course, you can't do it in the right order, NHL scheduling. We're also halfway through the season as well. We're going to talk about overall our, some league expectations for halfway through the season. But we can't keep playing like hey, Leafs, it's time to wake up. You're 41 games in. We're halfway through. Let's get it together.
Please.
Get it together. But yeah.
Begging you. Sort yourselves out.
I did say this is going to be a long one because we still have like half a show to go because this is what happens when the Leafs go from like us like playing like one game that we cover in every episode. Like last episode, we only talked about one Leafs game, and now we have to cover 3. Like
maybe 3 good games, 3.
Yeah, and 3 bad. It's not even like 3 good games where we can be like, the Leafs played great. We don't really have a lot to talk about besides look at all the cool goals they scored. Except, no, it's 3 bad games where they gave up losses. So.
But I will say, Justin Hall did have a shot on goal.
He did. Justin Hall had a shot on goal, which is good for Marcie's fantasy team.
When he took that shot on goal, I cheered.
Oh, so did I. My roommate was like, what are you doing?
Like
I was like,
won the Stanley Cup.
No. Because I will say though, I saw him wind back and a shiver ran down my spine. Because I was like, if he scores, it would not only would it just be like so Leafy to have Justin Hall score against you, Leafs legend Justin Hall. It also would have been his first goal of the season.
I personally really need him to score at some point soon.
Yeah. I don't know if you have anything else to add about the Leafs.
I just had my little Justin Horse shot and goal.
Okay, now it's time to talk about NHL's annual popularity contest, All-Star Game fan voting.
Yay!
So on Saturday, the results of the All-Star Game fan voting were announced. I'm just going to read through the list of players. I have them pulled up, written down. Here we go. So we got Leon Draisaitl from Edmonton, Cale Makar from Colorado, Jeremy Swayman from the Bruins, Alexander Gorgiev from Colorado, Sergei Bobrovsky, #1 cop in town, from Florida, William Nylander from Toronto, Morgan Rielly from Toronto, Mitch Marner from Toronto, Brock Besser from Vancouver, Thatcher Demko from Vancouver, JT Miller from Vancouver, and Elias Pettersson from Vancouver. I don't know if anybody understood the Sergei Bobrovsky #1 cop in town reference, or if you just didn't watch TSN religiously as a child growing up like I did in the mornings before going to school while eating breakfast, because that's what I did. But sir, it's a bit that Jay Onrait did when he was the host of Sports Center, because Bobrovsky sounds like he's a cop out of like a cop drama, like he's like some rookie cop out of a cop drama. So the whole bit was that it was like every time he'd make a say, it's just Jay Onrait going, Bobrovsky. Great. And now I reference it. Like I would reference him saying it. And for the longest time, I think not for the longest time, but I sort of forgot that Sergei Bobrovsky was around for a couple, and I would just have that like in my head of like Bobrovsky. And I never knew. I thought it was like from some TV show, and then I looked it up last season because I was like, "Why is it so familiar in my head?" Realized it's from a TSN Sports Center bit from like 10 years ago.
That is just like so on brand for you.
And my niche pop culture references that no one else understands, that I'll reference, and people be like, "Emma, what are you doing?"
Yeah, like if anyone was gonna
reference a TSN Sports Center bit from 10 years ago,
I would have absolutely no hesitation before saying it was Emma.
But yeah, also as well, Cale Makar being voted in means that there is actually no, and Morgan Rielly. There's 4 defensemen going to the All-Star game, so each team will get a defenseman. If one of the captains wants to be mean and just like pick like all of the defensemen, I think that would be really, really funny.
That would be quite funny. Hey, Austin, you know what you need to do.
And before people get mad about there being 5 Canucks all combined, being 5 Canucks and there being 4 Leafs, whatever. I need people to realize that like this is a popularity contest. This is essentially like high school student council elections for sports fans.
Yeah.
The most popular people are going to go. And like Toronto has a really big fan base. Toronto, even like also as well, the Leafs socials were really, really pushing the voting, especially on Twitter. Like if you don't follow the Leafs on Twitter, you probably didn't see it. But it was like every like when either some of those guys would score goals, it would be like the hashtag would be there in that tweet. It would be, they did a thing where it's like reply with your edits and we'll retweet them. Which me and Marcie had a field day with, just pumping our edits into there.
The Leafs retweeted my Morgan Rielly long live edit. Do you know how happy I am personally responsible for getting Morgan Rielly to the All-Star game, because that got like 600 and however many, nearly 700 retweets.
Yeah, like
you're welcome.
Like, exactly, because it's like every retweet counts. So it's like if Leafs are posting like their suit pics, like their walk-in suit pics with the hashtag, people are going to retweet them anyways, whether it's the All-Star game or not. So then, it's going to, and, I saw some teams were not doing anything, like they weren't promoting any players. And so it's like sort of a thing where you have to like look at the fact that like Leafs are a really popular team, have a lot of fans. Canucks, also really popular team, have a lot of fans. Canucks also really good this season. So they're going to have a higher representation if they have a lot of good players. Like people seem to realize, I need people to get it through their heads that like if a team is sending a lot of players to the All-Star game, it's not because they're bad players. It's because the team is good. Well, maybe the team is good because they have a lot of good players.
Yeah.
Isn't that a wild concept to have?
And as well, like, my one problem with a lot of people complaining is, like, I'm really sorry that your favourite, like, third line winger from a team with a really small fan base and, like, no social media presence whatsoever, I'm really sorry that, like, the 3 people voting to get them in weren't successful. But, like, that, like, everyone's like, oh, but that doesn't mean they don't deserve to go. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but the thing is, there's more people that, like, deserved to go than there is open spaces. Not everyone's gonna get in, and also, let the poor guy have a break. Let him have his holiday.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like I remember that one. There's this one like post game quote from Seth Jarvis where he was asked about like his thoughts on like the fans pushing to get him into the All-Star game through the fan voting, and he was like, "I really appreciate it. I really appreciate the support from the fans, but like I don't want to go. I have a non-refundable trip to Mexico booked. Like I'm not going. I'm going somewhere warm." He's like, "I'm not canceling my vacation to go to the All-Star game." He's like, he'll take the Alexander Ovechkin like 1 game suspension and not go, but I also like want to say as well, like I did want Dylan Strome to go to the All-Star game. I think he's been having a really great season in in Washington. And do I think Tom Wilson should go? No, but that's because I have my own personal gripes against Tom Wilson as well. But I think Tom Wilson on a line of Dylan Strome, a aging Ovechkin, and then Tom Wilson. Tom Wilson is by far not he's not the best player on that line. Dylan Strome, fantastic. He's on a career high of like great like career high projection of points and goals and everything. So I think he should have gone.
What can you? And as well, I just think the one thing that I think like so many people aren't like considering is the fact that you are way more bothered about your favorite player going than they actually are. Like,
oh yeah.
Like,
oh,
so many people are like, oh my god, I bet he's really upset. Like, I bet he really wanted to go. He really deserved to go. And I'm like, did he deserve to go? Yes. Is he gonna be, kicking and screaming in tears about it? No, he's gonna be booking his holiday.
yeah, exactly. Like I think people need to realize that like a player not being forced to go spend a weekend in Toronto in the beginning of February for some of these guys is a blessing. It's a curse that they would probably be more upset about having to go, because I think people realize like NHL players, a lot of them don't like the All-Star game. I think most of them don't like the All-Star game. I think some of them really do like it, but I think the ones like you'll be hard pressed to find guys who like genuinely look forward to the All-Star game and like going. Like some of them will enjoy it and they'll have fun, whatever, and like especially a lot of the Toronto guys will be like Morgan Riley said himself. He's like, I'm gonna be here in the city anyways, so it's not a huge deal. Like it's a huge deal to be named, but he's like, even if I don't have to cancel a vacation to attend because I didn't have a vacation booked, I was gonna be in the city anyways. But it's like guys who like play in like Arizona and like California and Florida, like them having to truck it up to Toronto for a weekend to play and it's cold, especially when last year it was in Florida. Like
Yeah, I want to know what like event they're gonna do to replace the dunk tanks that gives us the same content. Because I personally would love to see Sidney Crosby dumped into a tank of water in a white shirt and tight little black shorts again. Personally, for my
research?
enjoyment. Yeah, for science.
Science.
For science. Because I think I'm currently conducting a study on like the impact of very strong, muscly men in tight clothing that's semi-see-through because of water. I'm conducting a study on that. So if anyone has any research they've done or like any advancements in that area, please send them my way.
Yeah, anyway, but
I want to know how they're gonna top it.
Of course also as well, like I think there will still be a couple of injury replacements named, especially with the like wave of injuries that seem to have hit the league. Like I think like every team has a guy hurt right now. No one's help. It's you can tell we've hit the middle of the season by the fact that like every night it's like so and so is not playing due to injury, or so and so is going to miss the next 6 to 8 weeks because of a broken jaw, but then magically shows up on the ice 10 days after jaw surgery. This is directed at Connor Bedard because I thought they were locking that kid out of the rink. What is he doing on the ice in a no contact jersey?
The one thing is, it's good for my fantasy teams because I have on our fantasy team, I currently have 5 injured players.
I have 1. It's Ovechkin. I can't get rid of him either. I can't drop Ovechkin, and it's become a curse more than a blessing because he's hurt and also like isn't scoring the goals I thought he was going to. Yeah, but anyways, All-Star, there's still I think the fan voting for the last 2 spots in the skills competition is still ongoing as well. They've named 10 guys to that. Jack Hughes was named to that. Jack Hughes is hurt, so
yeah, interesting choice.
Yeah. I have a rant prepared about NHL scheduling, but also I want to talk about the so just some news out of Ottawa. That was it was good. It was big preseason news. Regarding Shane Pinto. Shane Pinto is back practicing with the Ottawa Senators. Last week on Friday, he was his first practice back with the team. He been back on the ice. He said he spoke with media for the first time since getting suspended on Friday, and he said it's his first time, like he's been on the ice, but just alone, but it's nice to be back practicing with the team. He's currently serving his 41-game suspension for gambling-related activities. Sports gambling, online gambling, can return to playing games with Ottawa on January 21st versus Philadelphia, and spoke to the media on Friday for the first time since his suspension. Like I said, he is still, though, unsigned to a contract with Ottawa. He is currently an RFA. Ottawa, though, however, is in a bit of a cap hell situation at the moment, so we'll see how they try to fit in Shane Pinto into their cap. He did say that he had players reach out to him, and to ask about like, hey, how can I avoid getting a half-season suspension? But we, again, don't fully know what he did, and I don't think we ever will, but it's something related to online sports betting, which is a little bit ironic by the league when you have portions of your team. You have teams sponsored by sports betting. You have like Bet99 is a helmet sponsor for the Ottawa Senators. You have like every commercial break, there's an online sports betting commercial which you have athletes in, like, Wayne Gretzky and whatever. And then, they're sponsoring like segments of your broadcasts. And I think there's also sponsoring an event at the All-Star game, like in the skills comp. So it's like a thing where it's this, you can have a whole discussion about sports betting and how it's it's become normalized in our landscape to see that sort of thing. Like I was coaching 14, 15-year-old kids over Christmas break, and it becomes very apparent that I like hockey if I have an extended conversation with anyone. And so I had people being like, oh, I would like, I did like a 15-year-old kid be like, oh, like I place bets, whatever. I'm like, you're 15. Why are you betting on sports? Like, can we not, please?
It's like you are like a child.
A child, you're 15.
Have money.
You shouldn't have money. Also, it's illegal for you to be placing sports bets online. You have to be 19 in Canada, in the province of Ontario, to gamble. Yeah. 18 in Quebec though, but they have different they have different like gambling laws because they're different. All right. I'm trying to decide if I want to rant about the NHL scheduling and how bad it is, or if we want to do a little mid-season check-in because we've hit the halfway point of the season. It's up to you.
Oh, I'm in the mood to complain about the schedule.
Can we? Okay, so for the second time this season, all 32 NHL teams played on Saturday. There were 16 games, obviously that means. It also happened to be NFL wildcard weekend. as well, which I don't really care about football to that great of a degree. I really don't. The most I care about football is who's going to be performing at the Super Bowl halftime show, and does my university beat our main rival university at our homecoming game every year. That's my extent of me caring about football. But I will say it is important to note that it was that NHL is their whole thing is like, we're trying to grow the game, we're trying to get more fans watching, our viewership is shrinking, we have to get more people to watch games. Well, you have these things in place where it's like you want people to watch your games, but then you also schedule all 32 teams to play on wildcard weekend. No one's gonna. What were you thinking? There was like, especially when the games are starting at like 1 o'clock, whatever. Like, there were 7 games that started at 7 p.m. on Saturday. I do not physically have enough screens in my apartment for me to watch all of those games.
Yeah.
At one point on Saturday night, I think I counted them out. There was about like 10 or 11 games going on all simultaneously. No one person can watch all of those games. And before you said, well, not one person, like, there's not going to be someone who's going to watch every single NHL game. That's impossible. I'm like, yeah, but like, hey, some people are fans of multiple teams. Now, before you say, hey, you can't really do that. Well, I, for the longest team, was solely a one-trick pony. I was like, I'm a Leafs fan. I am a fan of other teams. Then the Minnesota Wild decided to endear me.
Then Brock Faber happens. That's what went down.
Brock Faber and the Deweys happened. Also Marc-Andre Fleury, because I will always have a soft spot for the Penguins. But, like, it's hard to grow viewership when in a situation like this. Stagger games. And I know that's something the NHL doesn't like doing. They don't like staggering games by 15 minutes. Do it so that it's possible for people to, be like, oh, the main game that I want to watch has hit intermission. I don't really want to watch an intermission panel because I don't like the intermission panels. Let me go switch to this other game that I can watch on my television because it started 15 minutes later. So that means there's still, 10 minutes left in the first period. But no, I can't do that. No. Instead, also, I have to battle regional blackouts because despite living still in the province of Ontario, because I live in Ottawa, you think it's impossible for me to be a Leafs fan. So according to TSN, I cannot watch Leafs games in Ottawa unless they're playing the Ottawa Senators, which in that case, I'm probably already at the game myself because it's the only time I get to see the Leafs play for a reasonably affordable price.
Yeah. So, like, with the whole, like, oh, you should watch 2 teams. I like the Buffalo Sabres. Do you think I am experiencing any happiness whatsoever? Like, everyone's like, oh, you can't like 2 teams. You can't like 2 teams at once. That's cheating. You think I want to do this to myself?
Like, oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. I just got off watching the Leafs lose, 5-3 to the Colorado Avalanche. Let me go check in with the Minnesota Wild game to see if maybe you could cheer me up. No. They're losing 5-0 to Arizona. Oh, well.
I did feel bad for you.
Well, what am I going to do now? I guess I'm going to bed early.
Yeah.
Now I watched the first period of the Flames and Knights game. Who am I kidding? Going to bed early. It's a Saturday night. Also, as well, like, just you can never, like, unfortunately, hate to break it to Gary Bettman because he thinks this is a possibility, but he cannot compete with NFL. He can't compete with the NFL. The NFL is massive. It's draws in the biggest viewership numbers. It's got the most money out of the major 4 sports leagues embedded into it. NHL is like pee-wee to it. It's like you're sending a pee-wee hockey player to go play an NHL game is what you're doing when the NHL tries to go up against NFL and competing for viewership numbers, especially when there is a lot of people who are a fan of both sports. I am not one of those people, but there is a lot of people who are fans of both sports. I have a lot of friends of mine who are Bills fans, who are probably watching the Bills right now. I don't know how they're doing, but it's like you can't
expect to grow the game. You can't expect to grow the game and do this.
Yeah. No, it doesn't make the game approachable. It's overwhelming, in fact, to look and be like, oh my God, there's 16 games. And while it is really fun to have a day full of hockey, because I was watching hockey from like 1 o'clock till like I went to bed at 11. I was just straight hockey the whole way through. It was great. It is a little bit of it is hard though to decide. And like I was in the gym on my phone switching back and forth between two games because they were going on simultaneously. And at one point, Owen Power tried to fight JT Miller, and also the Ottawa Senators were losing to the Sharks. I didn't know which one to watch.
Owen Power. As soon as that happened, because I was like, my friend was around, we were watching the game, and I think I was getting a drink when it happened, so I come back and I see like someone like fighting, and I'm like, oh my God, who is that? And then I hear them say, oh, Owen Power, and I was like, no. So then I had to go on a Twitter, and I just searched Owen Power, and I was like, oh my God, Cal's gonna like
lose his mind. Yeah.
Like
Owen Power. Okay, here, let me rephrase that. Owen Power attempted to fight JT Miller. He was not successful. In fact, he didn't even throw a punch.
No.
He got his ass handed to him by JT Miller. But yeah, that's my rant about I feel like I know a lot of work goes into the NHL schedule, especially because you have to balance like a lot of teams. You also have to balance with the NBA schedule because teams share arenas, like the Leafs and the Raptors do, and there's work that has to be done and that sort of thing, and it's hard, it's difficult, whatever. But I think you can still do a better job in your scheduling. Like it's not an overly difficult. I feel like it's not overly difficult.
Yeah, like even if it's still not the best schedule, you can at least make it not be that. Of like 32 games in a night.
Well, 16. Teams. Yeah, 32. As cool as it is.
Games down here. Don't know who the other 32 teams are.
If you have like, and I get it's cool to be like, look, all of the teams are playing. You can watch action from all 32 NHL teams in one night. It is really cool. However, and I know they had like the ice zone thing, whatever, where it was like supposed to be, like NFL's Red Zone, where you can like, you can tune in and then they'll like show you the highlights from all the games happening, whatever, and it's supposed to be this big cool thing. We don't get that here in Canada. So I don't it's not for me. And unfortunately, I was having to be my own NFL Red Zone in trying to figure out what game. So I stuck to the Leafs game for the most part. And honestly, at some point, I wish I was switching to, I don't know, Flyers and Jets. Actually, I think that turned out to be a pretty good game that the Flyers won. So, yeah, mid-season check-in. We're halfway through the season. Do you have any surprises?
I just kind of have just screams in like all caps.
I was thinking more like the league in general, like any surprises from around the league besides the Leafs. Anything that exceeded your expectations or surprised you negatively?
You're gonna have to give me a minute.
I can go first. I just ranted about the NHL schedule for so long, so I was going to give you an opportunity to talk. But my big one, though, is Ottawa being this bad. They didn't have an awful season last year. And, I expected them to be, not as great, especially with their goaltending issues that they've had. But I didn't expect them to be bottom of the Atlantic division bad.
Yeah.
And then I also just have like the success of a couple teams that I didn't think had finished their rebuild process. That are finding a bunch of success. That being Philadelphia is the main one, where it was like they're a surprise that they're this good. Vancouver is another one where they had got off to a rocket start of the season, which I think surprised everyone. But even now, they've been able to pretty like maintain it pretty well. And then, of course, also Winnipeg. I feel like Winnipeg, like the Jets, are a little bit of a sleeper team when it comes to the Canadian teams. I always, no offense to the Jets, I kind of forget about them a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
Just in terms of like they're a little bit of a sleeper team on me. That kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah, I have basically got kind of the same with like the Jets, because as much as I would have liked to have forgotten they existed, my dad doesn't let me forget. Oh, he was like, "Oh, how'd the Leafs do?" And I'm like, "Oh, they lost." And he's like, "Ah, Jets won." And I'm like, "Yeah, okay, but like Leafs, Jets, Leafs, Jets."
I'm like, who do the Jets have? They have what? Mark Scheifele? One of those guys I just never liked. I don't know. You have those players that you just like don't like.
He reminds me of the dad from the live-action Diary of a Wimpy Kid movies, and I don't know why, but it's like every time I see him, all I can like. Every time I look at him, all I see is the dad from Diary of a Wimpy Kid, and it throws me off.
Like the first one?
Yeah, I think.
Steve's aunt?
Yeah.
From Daddy Daycare?
I was gonna say Daddy Daycare, but I didn't know whether I should. It's like I love that movie so much. I was like, the thing is, when I see him in Daddy Daycare, they're two separate people to me. But I'm gonna watch Daddy Daycare.
Okay, but you are right.
No, I am. Like you look at him and you're just like, ah.
But like but like Steve Zahn looks like Mark Scheifele in like 20 years.
Yeah.
But yeah, oh my god.
Have I just ruined your life?
Oh boy. Kitchener native Mark Scheifele. Hold on, my phone's ringing. Oh, it's just probably a spam call.
Yeah, I've also got how impressed I am with the Canucks, considering they've gone from last year.
Yeah. Oh, the last season where they're
they
firing their coach halfway through the year.
Which I'm still mad about. Last season
for Bruce,
they shared the title of my emotional support failure team with the Anaheim Ducks. And now look at them.
Those teams are in two very different places on the standings in the Pacific right now. Yeah, and like also Philadelphia, like they're done. Now I don't think they see themselves as they're done with their rebuild, but I think a lot of people expected them to not be this successful in this stage of their rebuild where they have the chance to be a playoff contention team. And that kind of leads me into one of my expectations for this year. Surprises, expectations. It's kind of the way we're doing this. It's just I expected like how close the playoff and wildcard race is in the Metro / in the entire Eastern Conference, and just how close all of those teams are. Like if you look at the NHL standings as of today, which we're recording this at like 5:45, is when I'm looking at this, because I feel like I think there is games actually going on right. Is there games going on right now? I think. Oh yeah, there is a game going on. There is games going on right now. Minnesota Wilds. That game at 6, but like there is a game that's on right now. Canes and Kings. If you look at like, this is not what I wanted to look at. I'm trying to find it. It's not. There we go. If you look at the NHL standings right now and you look at the wild card race for the East, here we go. So these are the so the Leafs are in third are third in the Atlantic with 50 points, and they have the least amount of points in teams that are still top 3 in their division in the East. And then here's from the Leafs at 50 to the Washington Capitals, who are 6th in the wild card race, who are at 46 points. There's 4 points separating. I know it's a different division. It's different, because it's the Atlantic. But there's 4 points separating. Detroit is at 59, Tampa's at 59, Pittsburgh's at 48, New York Islanders are at 48, New Jersey Devils are at 47, Washington Capitals are at 46, and then 7th, you have to go, the Sabres are at 42. So the only team that is truly out of the playoffs right now is the Ottawa Senators and arguably the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
All it takes is for a really good string of games from the Habs or the Sabres, and you could be like, well, you could, they could still be in it, right? Maybe that's a bit of a stretch, but if you want, the Flyers are at 52 points, so the Pittsburgh Penguins are only 4 points behind them, but they're tied with the Islanders, and then you have the Devils 1 point behind them. It's tight, and I think we expected it to be tight, at least in the East. Just because of that, the West's a little bit more spread out, just in nature of, I think, the teams that you have there. But it's still close. Carolina is at 53. No one truly has their division locked down, really.
Yeah, they could go absolutely any direction.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Bruins and Rangers at the top of each of their divisions respectively, but Florida Panthers, all it takes is a couple good games from them, and they're at 57 points. They're only 4 points back. That's 2 wins. And then New York and Boston Bruins have a hurt starting goalie with Ullmark out still. And New York Rangers are at 56 points, and the Carolina Hurricanes are at 53. That's how close it is, which is not crazy. It's what I expected, but it's just one of those things to keep an eye on. It's just every day I feel like it's changing.
Yeah.
Right. I also just as well I have certain teams struggling, which I expected them to struggle. Habs, Blue Jackets, Blackhawks, Sharks. I didn't expect the Sharks to be this bad, though, but you do expect them to be bad. Yeah. Ducks. Blues, for as I will say, though, the Blues, though, for as Mayday as it seemed when they fired their coach, they are 3 points back from wild card spot currently. So they turned around their season pretty well. And then I just also have the tight goaltending market and how, it's a light market. I have a tight goaltending market, just in terms of the fact of teams everyone at some point or another is, bar a few, are looking for goaltending help.
Yeah. It's an interesting one.
It's interesting to look at the season and kind of look back and be like, oh, we're halfway through the season now for most teams. Some teams have already played 44 games. Some teams are only at 39. Or if you're the Ottawa Senators, you're still behind everybody else at 38, because I don't know what's up with their schedule. I think they do have a pretty busy month of January, though.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you have anything else to add in terms of your expectations.
No, I'm just kind of expecting a lot of drama, because it feels like a lot more intense this
Yeah.
season. Like everyone's, and I mean, like personally, if I myself was an entire NHL team and I'd just seen the Vegas Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup, I'd be going for it because I'd be like, well, anything can happen.
Anything can happen. Trying to think of what you were saying. Oh my god, I was like, I like had half a thought in my brain, and I'm trying to think of where that thought went. It was something. It was like, oh, what is actually surprising is how quiet the trade floor has been.
Mm,
We're
yeah.
we're about we're about 2 months out, six-ish, 2 months out from the trade deadline. It's been a little bit. It's
blow up at some point.
February. I think after the All-Star break, we're gonna see it coming in hot, and I think like the rest of the season is gonna come at teams. It's gonna come at fans. It's gonna come at us as people who make content. Oh, I tried so hard to not call us content creators. No, no. But it's gonna come at, it's gonna come at people in hockey, whether it's your fan or a player or part of a team where you make content, whatever. It's gonna come at you pretty fast because you have to think about we're 2 weeks out from the All-Star break, and then after the All-Star break, it's quick. Like, oh, it's February now. It's, we're 3 weeks away from trade. We're a month away from the trade deadline. And then, trade deadline, we got 6 weeks left of the season. And then and then it's playoffs. Like,
I don't like how fast it's gone. It's gone weirdly quick this season.
Yeah, I know. And like, I think also as well as I think even just it's maybe just the passage of time of I felt personally like this year has gone very quickly as well. Like, thinking back of when we met, it was about a year ago.
Yeah, it was
like January, like 12th or 13th or something.
Yeah, it was like mid-January. It was after I'd gone home for Christmas.
So it's like it's like right about this time of year.
Yes, but it was before Christmas because I remember messaging in the group chat when me and my friend went for a night on holiday together. And I remember messaging in the group chat that night because the Leafs were losing.
So maybe like it has been over a year, but like it's that sort of thing of like
weird. No, we've known each other like 3 months.
3 months. Actually, we started this podcast like November, so 20th, like after the Sweden trip. So,
I don't like that.
2 months, 3 months. I don't know.
What do you mean I've spent 1/20th of my life knowing you? Is that not weird?
Oh, I don't like thinking about that. It's like another weird thing as well that I'm like thinking about too. I think about how, I don't know, like I went. Anyways, I'm just now thinking about like how like my first anniversary with Simon's coming up in a couple months.
It's our.
I mean, yeah. Marcie crashed Wednesday date night. I was the one who picked up though too. That's the thing.
You did.
I was like, yeah, I'm free to call right now.
It was a word.
It was really weird. It was, yeah. One could say it's a business call.
Yeah, it was for business.
No other reason why Marcie's calling me.
It was a breakthrough scientific development.
Absolutely. But yeah, this has been well, actually, it hasn't been that long of an episode. I thought we were going to be closer to the 2-hour mark, but we're not. I'm trying to think of.
I have a very quick, which I'm quite proud of myself for coming up with this. Marcie talks Marlies. I wrote that down and I was like, I am so smart.
Way to go. Okay, Marcie, hit us with the Marley stuff. Because actually, if you weren't getting enough Leafs hockey, there was a couple Marlies games this weekend, which were actually very fun and entertaining to watch. So,
And as your resident Marlies enjoyer and Marlies live tweeter,
Marlies admin #1 fan.
no, because like, why are they obsessed with me?
You're the one who's in every single one of their replies.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe, just maybe. But yeah, anyway, if you guys are like feeling a bit disappointed and a bit let down by the Leafs, and you want like a proper, like good game to watch, get on the Marlies, because they have been the Marlies games I've watched this season have been some of the most entertaining games.
Okay, can we take a second? We're not going to talk about the one that they lost, but we will talk about the 8-0 shutout for Dennis Hildeby against the Belleville Senators, in which then also at one point Dennis Hildeby gets speared by a Sens player, and Kyle Clifford comes off the bench to fight the guy.
He flies. And it was that point I
Leafs
messaged you.
legend
I was like,
Kyle Clifford.
Like I messaged you and I was like, they're fighting.
Well, I found it was a Nick Barden tweet where it was the like game summary, like the penalty summary for the game, and like of the first period. And it was like Kyle Clifford gets a penalty for coming off the bench. I was like, what happened where Kyle Clifford is coming off the bench to fight a guy?
Yeah, you're just like, Marcie, what happened? What happened?
Anyway, shout out to Nick Barden. He's a real one. We want him on the show, actually, so badly. We want him on the show so we can talk about it. We're your #1 fans.
We probably are, like genuinely. But yeah, it was an insane game. Dennis Hildeby, shutout, first game back since.
Yeah, he took like 10. He like missed like 10 days of like playing. He just sat for 10 days, comes back, 8-0 shutout.
It was a very entertaining game. People were getting sent off left, right, and center. I think at one point I counted the Marlies had 13 players. At one point, there were 159 penalty minutes.
Actually, that's what I want to continue talking. I want to look up a record.
Yeah, it was insane. It was so much happened, and it was like at that point I was like messaging Emma. I was like, I've got to give you my login so you can watch just all these games. And it's just, they're insane. And I actually really love watching the Marlies. They're just fun. They're just a fun watch. And yeah, it was a really good game. So if you've not considered watching the Marlies before, and
sorry, I just am on like Reddit.
Oh god. Yeah, if you've not watched the Marlies before, I would say watch them, but they're also really hard to find unless you want to like pay, which I eventually caved because there's only so much following the live tweeting thread that I can do.
Okay, here we go. The record for most penalty minutes in an AHL game is 520 penalty minutes, where it's the Adirondack Red Wings versus the Hershey Bears on October 14th, 1981.
Jesus, what went down?
That's what. There's also apparently a game where Jordan Bennington tried to have a line brawl against the Texas Stars and offered to fight the bench.
No.
I don't know what game that is. I'm sure if I just do Google like.
That's brilliant.
I'm sure if I just Google like Jordan Bennington, Texas Stars, I can. Here we go. Oh my god! Here we go. This is Blues prospect Jordan Bennington allows 7 goals, starts brawl with Texas Stars. Oh my god, hold on.
Oh, that is brilliant.
Oh, I'm pulling. This is a tweet from Sean Shapiro. Hopefully, it has there's like a video of this. I'm trying to see if it'll pull up a video.
There has to be. Surely.
Oh, it's just a picture on age. But it's from like November 25th, 2018.
Right.
Some context. Bennington goes out of his way to slash Joel Esperance after goal against. He was ejected. Oh my god, my phone's ringing.
But yeah, I will also
Oh, he literally takes on the entire. Oh, this is.
Can you send me this?
I will send this to you. This is fantastic. Maybe we'll, as much as I hate Jordan Bennington, this is actually hilarious. I want to, maybe I'll link to that tweet below.
Oh yeah, I feel like everyone.
It's fantastic, but I think, I don't know, is that where we're gonna end the episode here?
Yeah, so it's just watching. I will also say, if you are wanting to start watching an NHL team, they've got the half season packages out now, so it is cheaper, and you get the more exciting later half of the season.
Yeah. Also, you like it's what one subscription to get like it's like subscription and it's like you get to watch every AHL game.
Yeah, you can get ones where you can watch every. I have just the Marlies.
Just the Marlies. But you could get it to watch every AHL. It's yeah. Also, for those who do live in Ontario, because I know we probably have Ontario listeners, if you live in the province of Ontario, you can, and you have the Leafs app downloaded on your phone or a tablet or whatever, you can watch every Marlies home game for free using the Leafs app. You get the stream for free. Only if you live in the province of Ontario, though. But yeah, if you don't want to pay, but you still want to watch like an odd AHL game if the Marlies are playing and the Leafs aren't, there you go.
Because throughout that, literally, the Marlies games are always fun, even when they lose horrifically.
They're fun, they're exciting, and you get to familiarize yourself with some Leafs prospects. So then when they get called up, you know who you get to look really cool in front of your friends when you know exactly who they are. So it's like,
I'm like, oh, who's this? Like everyone's like, oh, who's this guy? And then there's just like us screaming in a corner. That's my little guy.
That's my little guy. You know exactly how I felt when like Joseph Woll got called up to the Leafs for the first time. Speaking of Joseph, and I can't believe we didn't even talk about this when we were talking about the Leafs. He could travel with the team out west on their West Coast road trip. It all depends on their ice time and things like that, according to Sheldon Keefe. Unsure. We will find out tomorrow when the Leafs travel to Vancouver. Not Vancouver. When the Leafs travel to Edmonton, not Vancouver. But yeah, he will not play in a game though. But it is good to see him back traveling with the team after his injury.
Yeah, I'm.
So on that note, because as sad as we are ending it on a little bit of a happier note than we started the episode. That is all for us that is all from us for today. Thank you for listening to another episode of From the Fourth Line. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcast. Just search From the Fourth Line, and you can follow the show on Twitter at From the Fourth Line. That's fourth with a 4. You can follow either of us on Twitter as well. At 60 Leafs for Marcie, at Parody1 for myself. All of that information will be in the show notes. Like always, we will see you on Thursday prior to the Leafs taking on the Calgary Flames. Hopefully they don't lose to Edmonton and Connor McDavid.
Well, you see, you've just jinxed it now.
Knock on wood.
Curse the Leafs.
We will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.